Good afternoon, everyone. This is Adnan from City Channel. We're live here from Cyprus Comic Con 2019. This is day 2. We're in Hall B right now, where in a matter of minutes we're going to have a press conferences with the stars of Game of Thrones who are right behind me, actually. I'm just going to wait for people to flow on in and get this started.
Mi piace bello chair race up and down the room in France.
That's
what he
hilarious.
wanted
Okay.
to do. And I was like, I'll do it.
City
I'll
Channel.
even send you a happy bangiversary.
Yeah, you will.
Okay.
Oh, really? Okay, we're going to share.
When I signed with my new agent last year, she said, so just let me know what you will do and what you will not do.
All right,
I said,
we're good?
What do you mean?
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
You did Sharknado
All right.
global swarming, so I'm getting the level here is kind of playing field, but just tell me what you won't do.
All right, gentlemen.
What happened in Sharknado 5? It was great. It was a big success. Yes.
All right, gentlemen. We're live right now. We're live right now. There's nothing wrong with Sharknado.
I did it.
You're in Sharknado?
Sharknado 5 global swarming. Yes.
Oh my God! The names just keep getting cooler, don't they?
Come to my table and see.
All right, gentlemen. Very well. How about yourselves?
Really good, thanks.
All right. So first of all, I'm gonna ask some general questions like where are you generally from? Like
Generally from?
yes.
Yeah, good for it.
I'm generally from Belfast in Northern Ireland.
Okay.
And I am generally from Montreal, but I live in London, England.
Okay.
I'm specifically from St. Mary's Hospital in London.
Time?
Room 34, time 1:34 p.m.
All right.
Your horoscope
Yeah.
is going to be...
My horoscope. I was 7 pounds, never mind.
All right, gentlemen. So is this first trip in Cyprus?
Yeah, my first time here, for all of us, first time in
And
Cyprus.
how are you enjoying it? If you're enjoying it.
We're going to try and share the microphone somehow. I think.
Please do.
We
love it. It's wonderful. Harmonize now, boys.
Shall I hold it in the middle? Is this good?
It's good. That's good for me. I can hear you.
It's wonderful.
Oh, no.
Wonderful.
We'll do it again.
We'll do it again.
From the top.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
So
was
wonderful.
Yes.
All right. How long are you guys here for?
For this convention, 2
And then
days.
you're off after today?
I leave tomorrow night, so I'm going to have a
Okay.
day to see this beautiful city.
I leave later tomorrow night into the next morning.
Okay.
So I have tomorrow to see this beautiful city.
Great. We can see it together.
And I'm early tomorrow morning, so I only have tonight to do it as much as I can.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, one of my friends is trying to get you to go to a club tonight. Is that an option?
I don't know about that. I'm going to be here partying with these guys at
All
the
right.
convention. But a club, I don't know. We'll see. I'm a bit old for that. I'm, you know.
That doesn't need to be.
Is it some kind of weird Spartan club?
It can be if you wanted to. All right, so let's move on to the Game of Thrones. What's it like being a part of, I want to say the biggest series in today? It's huge. What's it like being a part of
It
it?
is huge, and when we started, we didn't know it was going to be huge. It was one of those things that everybody kind of did their best to try and make the story work, not being sure what was going to happen, because I was there before the pilot, and it just turned into this brilliant thing. Everybody was very enthusiastic, and they were wanting to bring this thing together, and we took it very, very seriously in what we were trying to portray for this series, and it was one of those things that, after season 1, because the pilot was never seen, so episode 1 is about 2 scenes out of the pilot that we made, but by the end of season 1, HBO were pretty confident that this was going to be good.
Yeah.
And we still didn't know until we saw it on TV, and the reaction of people was fantastic. So season 2, you'd already gone into with a whole different feeling to the thing, because you kind of thought it was going somewhere. But I don't know about you guys, but obviously by season 3, I guess, when you started, yes?
Season 2.
Okay, so
Season 2 was
it got
the best
so much
season.
better then. You see?
It got really good in season 2 when I came in. I'd actually never heard of Game of Thrones when I got my audition. I thought it was called King of Thrones when I came to the audition. I was lost in a reality television bubble by then, so I was like,
That's
is this for
quite
King
the
of
jump.
Thrones? Yeah, it was quite a jump. But I had worked with the makeup artist on Clash of the Titans, and he wanted to put me forward for the White Walker in season 2, where their first appearance. I had no idea it was really quite as sensational as it was until really my episode aired, and it was apparently the most watched season finale in television history, except for when JR was shot in the 80s on Dallas. And I thought, well, I'll take that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can remember the question.
Well,
Which,
how is it?
how was it to be? It's
what's it like to be a part of I mean, the biggest series.
Well, when you get invited to go to clubs that are Spartan themed, you know you're doing well. So yeah, no, it's great. It really is. It's extraordinary. It's an amazing series, and I think we're very, very lucky to have had an opportunity to make something that has had such a massive influence on TV. I think one of the things that's so exciting about it is what it's going to do for TV going into the next, the next decade, really. Come 2020. What people are going to start thinking they can do with television as far as making it into epic scale stories. And that's what I'm most excited for. It's screenwriters who are going to tell tales that are so big, it is as though they've written epic novels themselves.
Of course,
so I'm excited for that.
I mean, every episode is almost like a movie in itself, and that's the greatest part about it.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that David and Dan have given a lot of, obviously with a certain budget, let's be clear, but has given a lot of networks the kind of vision, has shown the world how their vision for something as grand as this show can become a reality, it is literally as fantastic as it can possibly be. So I think that people are going to be a lot more brave in the future with television.
Okay, how do you guys find out that you're going to die? When do you
Well,
find out?
I found out, so like, generally speaking, William, yeah, right, yeah, William's like, we're going to kill you off now. Wait, what? Yeah. I found out, so a lot of the actors get like the call of death. It's like, hey, it's David and Dan, how are you? And we're like, and they're like, please. But I got this email of death. So I got the email saying, that was fine. I got the email saying, we want to call you. And I was like, okay, I'm going to die. And then,
Is it like you're going to a better place?
you're going to a better place. Well, like, they phoned me and picked them up, and they had this really, really, like, kind of sweet, humble tone, but they were like, hi, Eugene, it's Dan and David here. And I was like, hi, boys, just tell me, how are we doing this? Do you know what I mean? Like, let's just get to it. And they're like, so basically, Eugene, like, spoiler alert, everyone, there's this massive kind of, like, explosion that goes on in, like, the sept. And it was, like, really, really, like, kind of understated. But they slowly elaborated on what happened. And I was just like, oh my God, thank you. That's amazing. I'm thrilled. I'll take it. Because everyone dies in this show. So that's how I found out. I got an email, then a phone call.
For me, I found out on set. So I went to rehearsal. They flew me up to Northern Ireland to do season 3, where Sam stabs me and kills me. I hadn't read the script because it was very last minute shooting because I was flying to Canada and we were trying to get the dates and blah, blah, blah. I got there for the rehearsal. Michelle McLaren, who was directing it, said, okay, so you come over the hill, you're walking down, Sam comes, you throw him out of the way, you're walking, she's going, he's coming for the baby. And then Sam picks up this dragon glass, sticks it into your back, and you die. And I went, oh, okay. She went, you didn't know that. And I went, no. And she went, oh my God, I feel terrible. And I went, that's okay. They'll bring me back as a different White Walker next year. And she went, oh, okay. All right, you're good with that? Fine.
For me, there was this clairvoyant.
Well, I guess the question for you
And they
is
said
how
I was going to
you
die at
choose-
my drawing board, scribbling away. Yes. No, she didn't. I don't actually know a clairvoyant, so it was okay. I don't know yet when I'm going to die.
Thank God.
Yeah, but I mean, but there is that oracle at Delphi, isn't it, that I could go to and see. That's meant to tell you everything. So, and I've heard all about it. And if you take these strange substances and you sit there at Delphi, things can happen to you. Ayahuasca. There we go. Okay, so that might be the answer.
So are you guys like in a boardroom? You just have like a roulette wheel, and you're like, all right, who's it this
What,
week?
kill people?
Oh, no, sorry.
But the thing is, I tended to know, obviously, who died pretty early on because I would get my 10 scripts at the beginning, and before they'd shot anything, you'd already be drawing who had died. I mean, I drew the death of the White Walker with Sam sticking the blade in, and it was like really exciting for me, to kill you. It was just the best thing. And I drew him dying as well. Oh yes, I did. I drew those.
About that. Did you, when you drew my death, like how I fall down on my knees and then I smash into millions of pieces, was that supposed to be a little bit different? Because I think Michelle had said, you're going to like break into this kind of spider. It'll grow out of you and it'll all be kind of like ice and glass and then it'll shatter. So I kind of had this, and I kind of remember seeing something like that. That's so funny. Yeah, it sounded complicated, yeah. It sounded a bit silly. I was like, that sounds a bit silly. It was good. It was pretty cool. I liked it. Yeah, I was good with it. What were you thinking? Are you still thinking?
I was thinking about the spider because in the first season, what's her called? I'm going to call her Nan. You know, the old Nan talks about how the White Walkers had giant spiders that are big.
Oh,
Yeah,
the old man.
She's talking to Bran when he's in bed, and he talks about the Little Lord, and I was like, I want to see ice spiders.
Ice spiders. That's in the prequel. Yeah?
All right, so, I want to take a few steps back. You mentioned that you got on Game of Thrones through your makeup artist. Yeah?
Yes.
How did you guys get involved in the series?
Yeah.
Okay, I was working on Your Highness, the kind of mad comedy film with James Franco, Danny McBride, Natalie Portman. And that was really, really exciting, good fun. And my producer there was Mark Huffam. And Mark came to me partway through Your Highness and said, could I do some moonlighting on the potential TV series? And I said, sure, what is it? I said, you know, what is it? And he said, I can't tell you. And I said, well, what's it about? And he said, it's medieval fantasy. And I said, well, that's what we're doing now, sort of. And I said, yeah, brilliant. So he asked me to meet the supervising art director and the production designer. And that was the only two people that were in town. There was nobody else. This wasn't a crew. And I went there and they gave me little headers of information, but with little bits of script, but with no headers. So I didn't know what it was. I'd never read the books. I hadn't a clue what this stuff was, but I went away and they tasked me to draw up some castles, some knights in armor, some giant wolves, and a couple of beheadings. And so I went and did that, gave the artwork to them. They sent it away to America. I went back to my day job on Your Highness and happily continued drawing crazy, crazy shit for those guys. And at a certain point, about halfway through, Mark came to me and said, we've got Game of Thrones. And I said, is that what I've been working on? He said, absolutely. And I said, does that mean I have a job after Your Highness? And he said, yes, you have. So it was a Wednesday. I finished on Your Highness, and on the Thursday I was working on Game of Thrones, and my first job on it was designing the weapons. That was it. I was conceptualizing stuff, and that is the way I got into Game of Thrones. I was there before we knew what it was.
I love it.
Isn't it brilliant?
Stories.
That's awesome because Micken, the weapons were like the way I've started. When I was first doing season 1, I met the actor who plays Micken, the blacksmith in season 1, is actually kind of, he's a weaponsmith. I can't remember his name now. He was a lovely guy, but he played Micken because he just looked so much like him. I think it was it Tommy Dunn? I feel terrible for not being able to remember, but
Armor. And Tommy, I mean, I remember, sorry, I'd done the designs for Ice and Needle and Longclaw and all this sort of stuff, and I remember the first day, we had this tiny production base at a place called Stranmillis in Northern Ireland. I mean, this wasn't what we were going to end up in. And I remember the afternoon, I'm sitting working on something else at this stage, and Tommy comes in with a wolf skin. And it's this giant long wolf skin. And he said, well, come in and see this. And we went into the kitchen, this tiny kitchen in the place, and he unrolls the wolf skin. And there's Ice sitting in the middle of it, and Needle. And I mean, you're looking at these things going, what the hell? And of course, Tommy, can I lift this? And he said, oh, go ahead. And Ice is made to be the proper weight. This is a proper weighted horse killer sword. This thing is heavy as hell. And you lift it up and you know, this is a sword. Everybody wanted to lift that sword. They all started coming into the kitchen to hold this thing. And into the kitchen. I could draw that. And and Needle was there. And of course it's like a kind of 1.5 sword. It's not, you know, or something like that, or yeah, something, whatever it is, or 3/4 sword. That's more right for Arya. And it was just this beautiful thing of seeing these things that you draw and were there in a you know, it was physical. It was there, and I mean, Tommy is one class act. I mean, that guy is fantastic, and he made all that stuff with his team, of course. Well, that was what your first...
That was who I was referring to. Yeah, that was it. Just to be brief, the way I got into Game of Thrones was that I auditioned for it. I auditioned for Joffrey originally. I went in for Joffrey. The first scene that I did was when he is trying to duel the butcher's boy by the lake with Arya. And I went in, I met Robert and Nina Gold and John and Dan and David, and then I did that scene, and then I came back and did the breastplate stretcher scene as Lancel. Then I came back again and did 2 scenes as Lancel, and then that was it. I got the job. So it was very much just the actor that gets an audition.
I would like to ask you, how easy is it to draw the other things that you see in the script, or how is it to visualize it? Do you have help from the writers or the? And
Okay, my background was in comic artwork, so I've always worked from scripts. It's in case somebody fires you a script, you visualize it, you draw it. And the thing is, when you get a film script, you do see a set of images in your head. It's really, it's just, if you're immersed in that world, you see stuff based on that world. That's just the way it is. And the thing is that there were scenes that obviously you talk to the directors about, so they're describing images that they want, and you've already thumbnailed these drawings beside the director on the script, and then you go away and you draw this stuff. But there are other scenes where the directors weren't in town, so I was able to just go ahead and work on them because there was production maybe wanted certain things solved. So the Battle of Blackwater Bay, the first time I did that, the first version of that was me just working on it. The Joffrey's, the riot scene in season 2 where he gets pelted by dung and then Sansa gets attacked, that was one where Chris Newman asked me to draw up because there were certain things they wanted to solve. So he fired me a bunch of photographs of Dubrovnik and said, the riot's going to take place here in these streets. Can you draw that up? Absolutely. So I drew this thing up, and then when David Nutter saw it, he said, this is great, we'll film it. So that was really cool. And the same thing with the ice wall climb. I was given a script to visualize the ice wall climb with Jon Snow, and when Alex Sakharov saw it, he said, this is perfect, let's go ahead and shoot it. So those things are really nice whenever you're so immersed in the story that what you visualize is as close as can be to what they want, and you do see it on screen. I mean, this is the thing for me. You know, I sometimes, once I've done it and I've left the show and I've gone off to do something else, and then you see it on television and it brings it all back and you realize I've actually drawn that, and that. And I mean, you don't draw everything, but it's great when you see your scenes there and they are close to what you've drawn.
but that must be an amazing feeling.
No, but I mean, I think for everybody it is. It's like, because this is a really good show, because it really was unique. You know, you were saying something earlier about it, and it has changed what television is going to be like. And I mean, even though there have been lots of other good series that have been happening at the same time, television's where the best scripts are these days. You know, I mean, you're allowed to continue an idea and play in with, you know, with other ideas, and you know, they're not necessarily exact lengths either. I mean, certainly with somebody like HBO, they can do different things. They can choose, so it is fantastic.
How much of your work do you see on screen? I imagine you have a lot of green screen scenes, very lot of visual effects screens.
Well, I mean, my makeup is 100% makeup, except for the eyes.
How long does it take? Sorry.
5 hours.
5 hours.
So the eyes are CGI'd. That's the only thing. I wear black contacts, which cover the entire eye. Okay. So that's a testament to the amazing work that the makeup team have done, because they spend a lot of time on it, and I get a lot of people saying, is that animated, is that CGI, and it isn't at all. The scene that you see me arrive in at the end of season 2 was completely shot in a green screen studio at Shepperton Studios, so it was boiling hot, not freezing cold. So that was completely green screened, with the exception of me and the horse. Everything else is green screened, and there was some zombies around as well, the undead. Season 3 and then season 4 were both shot on location in Northern Ireland. Season 4, we had a big green screen behind us so that they could impose a really dynamic landscape. But the ice that you see in season 4, when you first see the Night King appear, I put the baby down on the ice and I walk away and he picks it up. That's all ice. That was actual ice, which was weird because they were really worried about it all melting, and I thought, why didn't you make it out of plastic? But yeah, they brought in all this ice. Even Michelle McLaren was like, why didn't they just make it out of Perspex? But I was like, don't ask. They really went to town on the ice. Don't bring up the, because it's all melting very fast. But yeah, it was, you know, a lot of what we see. But a lot of the time, what we do is shoot a lot of options for the White Walker, because you only have me for 3 days, and those suits and that makeup, when you take it off, it's destroyed. You have to wear a new one every day. So you have to get what you need in the time that I'm there, because otherwise it's going to cost you a lot of money to come back and revisit it. So we shot, like, for just those 2-minute scenes that you see, would take 3 to 4 days to shoot, because we wanted to shoot a lot of options for them to choose. So it was fascinating for me to go, oh wow, they chose that, and that. Interesting, but they didn't choose the other thing that took me an hour and a half to do with the horse. No.
I didn't actually quite understand the question. How much of our stuff do we see? Did you say? How much of our stuff?
From what you, I'm sure like, what you experience on set is way different than
To what the result looks
yeah.
like. Yeah, I mean, it's surprisingly not quite as different as you think, because Game of Thrones is so epic. Like, when you come and do a battle scene, it's a battle scene. It's CGI is only used really to, I think, give a kind of sense of perspective on the horizon, like going further and further back, you know. They have dozens of horses and men on horseback that really do ride at you with as Dothraki, and you know, there are in the Battle of Blackwater, you know, in season 2, there are 200 extras running at you as Baratheons, and there are 100 extras running down the hill as Lannisters, and they all have choreographed fights. They have been preparing their stuff for days. It is intense, and they know what they're doing. And there are people on the walls. So, you know, the thing is, we don't really need too much imagination. I mean, I think where the most of the stuff that is really, really CGI'd is the dragons. Like when you see Amelia or Kit on these dragons or near them, it's these large rig dummies, you know, really enormous things. But other than that, as far as people are concerned, it's pretty as authentic as you can really make it, which is astonishing, thinking of the scale of it.
It must be immensely helpful.
Oh, it's so helpful, and I mean the atmosphere. The atmosphere is The atmosphere is like a personality. It's like a kind of endless source of ammunition and energy. It really fuels you so much. And it's very unifying. You know, the whole production becomes really driven because it's also real. It's also real and so exciting. It's so for that, it's not that different really to what you see.
One of the things I was just thinking while you were saying that stuff. I mean, one of the things that got me was I was out at the set for Craster's Keep one time before, you know, the Jon Snow fight at Craster's Keep, and the guys are out spraying snow everywhere. You know, it's this fine paper, isn't it? And it's looking really authentic. And I'm wandering about and I'm doing my drawings, and this is for Michelle as well. And I'm starting to feel really cold. And the more I look at the snow, the colder I'm feeling. And way up in the background, I suddenly see this big blast of sunlight on the fields. And there's this guy with a big kind of hose pipe thing, and he's blasting out more snow. But your mind slots straight into it. I mean, for the actors, it must be so easy to get into that vein. No, seriously. It's like we were talking about this yesterday. You know, when an actor puts on the armor, you know, when they're put out in the middle of this thing, it's got to be so easy to allow the fantasy in your head to just go crazy. It's like being a little kid, really, you know? Yeah. No, I can imagine this. But the thing was, there was a couple of times that's the way it felt for me standing there. I kind of got it, you know. I mean, you're there and you're realizing, shit, man, this is going to be good fun. Except, of course, that you guys end up doing things really late at night and in freezing weather and with it raining and with mud everywhere. But the other thing that you were saying, which actually came to mind as well, is, you know, every shot that's prepared for that doesn't have CGI is so much cheaper than every shot that has CGI. So the thing is, you get all those guys out there in the real world with, you know, with all of the things that you've laid down to create the atmosphere of the scene, and it's still going to be easier to shoot that stuff than dropping in the CGI stuff. For the CGI guys, okay, it's totally easy for them to put in the stuff, but that costs so much money. So, yeah. So that's it. That's why, I mean, and also there's that thing where our believability factor goes way up when we see live action, you know, with CGI as being the after part of it, you know?
Okay.
So, okay.
So how easy is it to transition from a green screen room to like a huge battle? And 'Cause, you've mentioned Michelle 3 times.
McLaren, yeah.
I've never met her, but I know her work, and I've seen behind the scenes footage.
Breaking
and I know
Bad.
I know she's really visual, and
Yeah.
she's really good at explaining. But I mean, even her, I don't think she can do.
Well, she's pretty good.
She is,
I
isn't
mean,
she?
she's pretty good at
Wow.
explaining because, well, in season 2, 3, 4, I didn't get to, we couldn't get onto set because they weren't finished filming on the set that we were about to work on. So I couldn't get my horse either because they were still using it in another scene. She wanted to get something shot. So this is a testament to how amazing she is as a director. And she didn't want to waste time because we were sitting around. She just said, you know what? Okay, we're going to do it like this. Great. Get the pickup truck over there. Bring it out over here. Put a box on it, right? You get up there, sit on the box, bring over a fan, sit there. While she was doing this, she was cutting a big piece of hessian, you know, and she said, bring the baby out, right? Get the camera guy. And I said to her, this is really, and she went, what, like a school movie? Like what do you call it? Like a project, you know, like a film school movie. I went, yeah. She said, that's exactly it. So we were on it, and she said, okay, when I call action, so they brought the baby out, I'm holding the baby, and she said, when I call action, just, you know, go. So they start with the fan, they started throwing the paper in like that, so it's going like that, this, and she's bouncing the pickup truck, and it looks like I'm on a horse. And that's the shot they used, which you saw, they used it even in the adverts leading up to season 4, was me just carrying this baby through the winter. You know, we eventually got amazing shots of wide shots with the horse the next day, but until then, she was adamant that she was going to get the close-ups this way, and she was amazing. She was quite amazing at it, and it was a lot of fun, and we laughed our heads off. Yeah, and she just took that hessian and just dirtied the camera with it. She just kind of put it in like that, and she was like, I think we got it. You know, you can give the baby back now. It was like,
and then all she needed was a bunch of coconuts, and we're absolutely...
yeah, it was. You know, bit of sound effect. But she's amazing, you know, and you use your imagination to the best of ability, but if you shoot it up like that, you don't need a green screen because the sky is above you, right? So it was like, almost like the point of view of the baby. So, you know, she just kind of works with what she has. And I think, you know, to me, I'm not crazy about working on green screen and motion capture. I do quite a fair bit of it. And it's a lot of imagination. You have to really use, as an actor, you have to use your imagination a lot. So it's a lot of work. But, you know, it has its place, but I think the best work is done is if you combine the two. So you have really good work and a little bit of CGI in it. It really blends beautifully, and you can make it really magical. As far as I'm concerned, you know, my point of view is my point of view, not the camera's point of view. So I never know really what anything looks like until I actually see it, right? Because what I see is a camera guy, Sam sitting behind a styrofoam rock, a couple of zombies, you know, walking through a green screen. I'm just kind of doing my stuff and thinking, well, I hope this works. You know, this looks weird, man. But then you see it on TV and you think, wow, okay, that's all come together, pretty cool.
But you see, the CGI work in Game of Thrones is just phenomenal. I mean, they really racked up the quality of the stuff, that our believability factor is there. Because if you go back to those wonderful ancient days of Star Wars, and do you remember the thing when Anakin Skywalker sees this CGI kind of animal coming charging over a hill, and he gets up from Natalie Portman, and he says, I'll do whatever, and he jumps onto the back, except it's like real Anakin Skywalker leaps into the air, and CGI Anakin Skywalker lands on the back of this thing and looks CGI, does a bit of hovering about, and then the CGI version leaps off and rolls into Anakin Skywalker on the ground, and it looks shit. It's really horrible. It's like, do you remember The Matrix 2 when suddenly it's the lovely wooden Keanu Reeves becomes rubber Keanu Reeves with all of these rubber Mr. Smiths, and it's just horrifying. CGI, I think people have learned so much from those movies in the sense of don't overdo it. You know, the dragons in Game of Thrones are phenomenal.
Yeah.
They really are. And I mean, when you see then, of course, the multiplication, of like White Walkers and whites coming across the snows and stuff. And, you know, it's seamless. It's absolutely bloody beautiful.
I'm so excited just talking
So there we go. Sorry, guys.
Wait, so the dragons aren't real?
Well, they're very hard to keep in the cage.
Yeah.
We had a lot of problem in the early
It's got
days.
the ones from Harry Potter.
Yeah, as they grew, it was a real problem.
Yeah. I like the little one in the first season.
The little one. Hello.
But this one here,
This one here. Hello.
that was a hand puppet.
All right, so personality-wise, who's the cool guy on set, cool lady on set, and who's really mean and you never want to see on another set again?
Oh, child.
I'm trying to start drama
You want
right
us to
here.
throw shade on the cast? No, I would never.
This one
No. I, to be honest with you, I've not worked with anybody bad on Game of Thrones at all. Okay. Like, not at all. No, not. I can't say
But
bad
do you
word.
find that when we say that, everyone's like, oh, come on, you're lying. Like, I'm sure there's a diva or two. Like, no, it's like, I don't want to give you the boring answer, but
If there is, maybe it's me. I don't know. But the cool guy on set is pretty much the team. I really do feel that. I mean, for me, of course, working so closely with my makeup team, I do actually, and I have to say this hand on heart, they are the coolest bunch of people because I see them, when I get in at 1 o'clock in the morning to sit down, they've been there for an hour, and they are super hilarious and on point, making you tea, complaining about the flies going into the and it stinks. They're like, oh my God, it's putting me off my toast. They're always like good. We have a good laugh when we have downtime. We all go into my trailer and kind of relax on the bed and fall asleep together. So they are really the cool guys for me on set. But I don't really have a bum word to say about anybody on the set. I really mean that.
They're amazing. No, ever since season one, some of my happiest memories I was 18 at the time, and some of my happiest memories are hanging out with these guys as I was like just out of boarding school and like on set working with a really bunch of just fun actors. And there was like an evening where there was like hanging out with like Mark Addy and Sean Bean when they were like I think one of the first scenes I did, not the first scene, but one of the first scenes I did is the breastplate stretcher scene in during the jousting tournament. And Mark and Sean, when they finished doing that scene, would just go outside and literally they would just spend most of their time just rolling cigarettes. And they would just be like, hey man, yeah, how are you? Yeah, really good, yeah. Yeah, very well, yeah. Yeah, and it was just hilarious. They were just so chill, and I'd be like, oh, God, this is quite intense, isn't it? And they'd be like, yeah. You know what I mean? I'd be like, God, I guess not. And they were just so fun to hang out with. They were so hilarious as well. Like Mark went past Renly Baratheon had just done his scene with Finn Jones, his gay scene, and he was just coming on like, hey guys, sorry. And he was just like, they just have a laugh. There's banter. It's really, really sweet and funny. And I think there's a lot of humor in the show as well. Conleth Hill is supposed to be very funny, and Peter Dinklage. It's just, yeah. Who do you hate? Yeah, let's get really into this now.
I guess we'll find out who's dying next.
No, my real experience of set was going over to see directors whenever they had time, because they had no time, and to kind of work out what we were doing in between takes. So that's when I saw the actors, was really in between takes, or else out at the coffee wagon. And, I heard stories about different people at different times, but then, I would go back and talk to the storyboard department in my room, which was me for a lot of the time. So I'd be in my room talking to myself and trying to work out, who do I hate? Who do I really hate? Who do I hate? I don't hate people. I'm very zen. I'm not going to hate people. It's going to be really cool. I'm going to sit in my room and be really cool, and it's not going to hate anybody, and the whole show's going to be beautiful. And that's kind of what it was. I mean, the thing is, I got this chance to watch people doing amazing work, and that kind of for me is like the magical thing of filmmaking. Yeah, there's people that are probably going to irritate the hell out of each other, and there's people that are going to be interesting characters, but it's brilliant. I mean, it's like the best experience, really, isn't it? Yeah.
I think we're all kind of really, like, to my opinion, we're all really childish. So, like, when we're on set, we're all so childish. Like, we're on set, like, again, the Battle of Blackwater comes up, and, like, day 3, of Battle of Blackwater, and Peter Dinklage, Jack Gleason, Joffrey, and myself. We're all in this like box, this massive metal like kind of ship container box that is our green room. And we were like, God, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, we've been shooting all night, and then suddenly like Peter just gets out his phone and he's like, hey guys, you want to see something funny? And he goes on YouTube and he shows us this honey badger video of like this like really camp voice talking about the honey badger. And Jack and I are just like 4 o'clock in the morning, we're all just wetting ourselves. There this guy going, the honey badger is one of the most aggressive mammals that roams the African savannah. And we're just, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and we're doing like a battle scene and we're covered in blood and it's raining and I'm cold. But we're just wetting ourselves laughing at this ridiculous video. So yeah, we're all, I think most people are really childish on set, and it works so well. It brings so much life to it.
Yeah, we were working on a show here, like nothing compared to Game of Thrones, but we were shooting a small battle scene. They handed out guns to the actors, and they all turned into like kids.
Right, they all turned into
with
kids.
guns.
Pew, 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 pew.
Like
Yeah.
no guns. Until everyone just get out of
Oh,
control.
no, you give someone a fake gun and they're like, right, I'm officially 5. You know, like, right, you know, it just changes straight away. Yeah.
All right, so we all know how huge Game of Thrones is. Game of Thrones is as in terms of production, but I know it might be a bit of a strange question. But what was the like a small thing that made you realize how big it was?
This going, like, how big is this? You know, when you only see like the very tip of an iceberg, you like, and you wonder where else is this going to pop up. And so that's when I knew, like, even now I'm like still like, geez, like all these actors who I adore, like, you know, I remember when I watched like an interview for The Hangover and Bradley Cooper and all these guys are talking about it. And Bradley Cooper was talking about how he had a new haircut, and then one of his, like Zach Galifianakis was like, or one of his the co-stars was like, yeah, it's very Game of Thronesy, and I was like, Jesus, he watches it, and this guy watches it, and Obama watches it, you know, and I was like, my God, Donald Trump watches it. God. God bless him. And yeah, it was just, yeah, huge.
Though, like, as big as it is, I think the thing that was really, really blew me away was sitting in my local cafe having breakfast, and the people at the table next to me had just seen the end of season 2, and they were talking, was just like weird, bringing out all this stuff. Yeah.
I think my bit, apart from getting trips from HBO to go to places that I'd never been before, like Los Angeles and Bangkok. I mean, for me, it was like, well, that's pretty cool. But it was the Big Bang Theory. You know, it's like you say about the different programs. I mean, I was sitting watching the Big Bang Theory, as I did, and the guys are in the comic shop arguing over a Game of Thrones sword. And I'm going, they're arguing over a Game of Thrones sword? Wait a minute, I designed a whole bunch of swords. Is this one of my swords? They're arguing over my sword on the Big Bang Theory. Oh my God, we have really cross-pollinated, and this is incredible. And then it was turning up in detective stories where people were mentioning Game of Thrones. It is worldwide phenomenon stuff, and it's bloody bizarre, you know, because you go to your day job. You know, you go and work. So, you know, when that happens, that's kind of weird.
Okay, so how do you approach smaller productions now? In what mindset do you?
The same. Yeah, I want my White Walker costume.
Latte.
I love doing small projects. I'm producing a short film at the moment, a play that I was in last year, Romanian piece. I'll do anything. I did Sharknado. Game of Thrones could have been a very low budget. I mean, it started off relatively low budget, and it developed its budget. You know, everything is really like. I always think, you know, never look down on the new kid on the block, because tomorrow they might be making Game of Thrones. So I work with loads of different teams of people, and I love it because creativity doesn't have a price tag on it, in my opinion.
I think the thing about Game of Thrones that has taught me, or an actor or a director or a cinematographer or a choreographer puts into it, you're going to get the result, and that is a universally accepted currency of truth in art. In TV and film, and I find that is an education that I would not have got in any other kind of, well, I wouldn't have, I think I would have got it, but I don't think it would have been as beautifully and poetically as communicated to me as having done.
Well, you see, I think the same with the guys, that one of the things that I always find is that, you know, each job becomes the job you're working on. You know, I mean, I'd done a lot of things before Game of Thrones, and I continued to do things while Game of Thrones was happening. You know, I mean, I only worked on it each year, it was like 6 months.
You know, I have worked with people like that. I will not mention them. They were
And crew talking like that about different giant jobs they've been on. One guy I heard over, and he only lasted 2 weeks, and then that was him gone because he was too busy thinking about what he'd done before rather than what he was doing now. And that's it, really. You know, these jobs are brilliant. The life is brilliant. I mean, I like you, I mean, I got to direct.
You can't look at the project like, oh my God, this is a really big project, because that's what you want to do to the audience. Yeah. You want the audience to go, wow. You can't be in it going, wow.
First of all, Daniel, for you. When he was playing in the third or second or in the latest seasons, your character, it's evolving from just a young man for a religious fanatic. And for example, I would like to remind a few scenes when Peter Dinklage is reading you, that he will that he will tell about about Cersei. And I would like to ask you about Peter Dinklage and Lena Headey. How is to work with them? What can you tell?
They're incredible. They are two of the most wonderful human beings ever. You know, funnily enough, today Lena Headey tagged me in a photo on Instagram of me with Jonathan Pryce, and there was a photo of my foot toothbrush because I had to have like all this dirt put in as a faith militant. So to go from Lancel, the kind of squeaky clean, curly-haired, you know, blonde, blue-eyed boy, to this, you know, really, really kind of dirty, down in the mud kind of fanatic was quite an experience. But what doing the show with them was really, really special for me because they're such wonderful people and they're such amazing friends and comrades in this epic kind of story, and they have a great sense of humor. That's one of the loveliest things about both of them is that when you're doing the work with them, they make the environment so happy and joyous to work with, so that as an actor you can really play and do some good work. Lena Headey, when I was doing the scene where the mountain in season 6 rips off the head of one of my, I'm going to call him colleagues, was literally in front of me going, for one of those moments, and I had to kind of go, but it still keeps it fresh because it means that you're present. It means that you're like, it's not a negative thing. It's like keeping you present. And Peter Dinklage was the same. Like I remember I came into the room once when I was Lancel in season 2 for that scene that you're talking about, and the exact line is, I walk in and I go, I come at her grace's behest not to drink with you, imp. But for some reason, because I had just been with Lena, I came and I went, I come at her grace's behest not to sleep with you, imp. And Peter just went, and I went, shit. So they're great fun. They're wonderful.
Thanks a lot, and thank you. I would like to ask you, Mr. Walker.
Mr. Walker, yes.
Sorry.
Mr. Rossi Walker, yes.
I'm not an actor. I don't know about cameras and about.
Yeah, well, just stay where you are.
Yeah,
the
sure.
camera will find you.
Sure. Okay. I would like to ask about your characters, because you have 2 of them, isn't it? 2 walkers.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
2 walkers. So you have a silent rose. You don't speak.
I don't.
But it contains a lot of monstrosity, or how to say?
Monstrosity?
Monstrosity, yeah.
I am a monster-ish, yes.
So,
my mother always said that.
He was a monster.
Yes.
what are you saying about it?
What do I think about it?
Can you tell me what is more difficult, to play regular roles or to play silent monsters?
Oh, I don't really know. They both have their challenges, but you know, there was at one point there was discussion about what would they sound like if they were to speak, the White Walkers. You got to be really careful with monsters, because if a monster starts speaking, it better be really interesting and good, because if it's not, it can ruin the whole thing. You can just destroy the whole thing. So I think that's why a lot of monsters that have made a real impact usually don't speak very much. Like I play the Silence in Doctor Who. Silence. It's all in there, you know. The teller also doesn't speak. I play a lot of non-speaking monsters for a reason, because once they start talking, they become human-ish, or you start to expose the human workings of them. So it's all through presence of evil, you know, which is the thing we fear most. And I think the thing we fear most is what we don't know. And if something starts talking, then we start to know it a little bit better. When we don't understand something, it's like a mystery. I love the spoken word. I'm an actor, you know, so if I'm in a project where it requires speaking, I love it. But these roles didn't require that, so I loved them for what they are. You know, they're physical, and they are manifested by the makeup and the artists around me as well. I'm not the only part of that team, so.
Okay, thanks a lot. It was
Thank you
really
very
interesting.
much.
And I would like to ask the last short question for
Yes.
all of you.
Okay.
Guys, who's your favorite Game of Thrones character?
I really enjoy Varys. Varys. I like Varys a lot.
The spider.
Oh, I like Cersei a lot. I mean, every time she comes on screen, I'm like, oh, good. Who's she gonna kill? Yeah.
And my favorite's Tyrion. Always has been, always will be. He's just really cool. Yeah. I don't care, dude. It's really good. No, they don't. They want to kill him. No, I like him. That's it.
Yes, thanks a lot. I think my
you.
time is over, so I'm giving the microphone
I think
back.
mine is
and,
too. I may have to use the loo.
Thanks a lot for this performance, and we really appreciate it to come on our island. It's a big event for us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, well, gentlemen, like we said, we're all out of time now, so just really,
Great.
really appreciate you coming down here. Really
Awesome.
appreciate your time, your knowledge, and hopefully we'll be seeing you soon. Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Clubbing tonight,
Hey, they're
yeah.
playing Holiday. They're playing
Either way.
Madonna's Holiday.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
It's time for the good times. Forget 'em.
Oh,
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for that press conference. Had a really great time with the Game of Thrones cast. So incredible that they're so down to earth, and we're going to be looking forward to seeing them at their personal booths. Don't forget at 2 o'clock we have another press conference in here with the Star Wars C-3PO, Mr. Anthony Daniels, who again, huge star, and can't wait to see him. Keep with us. We're going to be live all day today until 5, so stay with us.